Oh, hey y'all, I'm making some blue satin pants, and what I do is I use the fabric of I kind of keep two pair of pants. I make my own pants, and then I wear them until the fabric becomes distressed. But I always try to make, I always try to keep two pair of pants. So eventually I'll buy another, couple yards of fabric, and then I'll make another pair of pants, and then my old pants I use to make dolls. So I feel like it's like transmuting energy, like because the energy of these pants that I wore during that certain time is like embedded into the pants, and then I use that fabric to make dolls. I'm not quite sure if it's wasting, but I have to keep making dolls. What, like yesterday, I made a doll, not yesterday, but I'm waiting for this doll to finish drying. This one doll, and when it's done drying, then I'll finish working on the doll. But yesterday I didn't have anything to sew, so I fixed up this patch on my backpack, this pocket, because the pocket had holes and the cotton is kind of rotten. So I took the the patches that I had, and I patched up the bag just to have something to sew, because if I'm not sewing, I was trying to do some watercolors, but I just wasn't, like I said, like with watercolors I have to think more about the composition, the drawing and everything, and I kind of repeat the same things over and over again. I mean to challenge myself, but I tend not to. But I notice a difference after a while of like continuously painting. You pick up stuff, but I'm still not quite like creating like elaborate compositions. I'm just kind of make an image in the center of the page. But anyway, so like sewing, it's become like a drug almost. Like I'm addicted to sewing, and so yeah, yesterday I wasn't sewing. I was a little tired yesterday, though I feel like I slept well. But I noticed it was a difference in my mood because I just didn't have anything to do with my hands or anything to create. So I'm working on these pants today. I was going to save this project for later, but I was like, let me make these pants so I have something to sew. So, so yeah, so they're almost done. Satin is pretty easy to work with. This is some good satin, but it kind of stays still. And I also like to work with velvet, but velvet moves around a lot. It's a little more difficult to work with. But why I really came back, because I want to explain why I like things that are dirty. I don't know why I like to be in kind of not necessarily dirty spaces, but spaces that are a little bit more comfortable. I grew up in a house, like when my mom passed away, I had to go live with a cousin, and he had this house built during that time that we went to go live with him in Texas, and it was like this really nice house with like 4 rooms, 2 bathrooms, upstairs, downstairs, two-story house. And his theme was like to keep everything white and kind of like tan, like a off-white. And he even had like white leather couches made just for the house. They have like this like really clean modern look, and we weren't allowed to sit on the couches that were in the living room, and we especially weren't allowed to sit on the couches if we had on blue jeans, because the blue jeans would stain the leather. So if we were ever in the living room, which he didn't really want us in the living room, we had to sit on the floor, which it was fine. I like sitting on the floor, but just the idea of don't get on that couch. And then I used to love to draw, and I remember I was doing like some inking on some drawings that I was working on, and the ink pen bust and got onto the carpet, and I was so scared of calling him up. Calling, he wasn't at the house, so had to call him up to tell him like this ink pen bust on the carpet, and there's ink on the carpet, and I was just so like the anxiety in me. So I called him up and I said, "Cousin Mark, please don't get mad." Like I called him Cousin Mark. That's how my mom told us to call him. So I said, "Please don't get mad." Like, but I bust the ink pen and it got on the carpet. And so immediately he started cursing and saying, "Fuck, fuck," all this stuff. And I'm scared. And I was like, he never hit us, but he just would yell at us and kind of just, I don't know if he necessarily meant to, but it was definitely like psychological, like punishment with him. And he would just punish us, like tell us, but it just, his yelling and his anger just scared me so much because I thought he would get violent with me. So he came home and he got this gunk off stuff and he like scrubbed the carpet, scrubbed it, and he was just cursing the whole time. And it, it didn't get the ink out, but it made it look like, it made it like, it brought up the ink a little bit. But all that to say, so he, like, everybody knew I like to do art. So, people would buy me art supplies for Christmas or for my birthday and stuff. But even in my room, I wasn't allowed to do art because he was like, if you get it on the carpet, that's going to be a problem. So people would buy me paint for like the holidays, like Christmas and stuff, but he would say I couldn't paint. So my outlet for painting was in school, where my art teachers would allow me to paint with different or use different materials that I had no access to, or if I did have access to, I wasn't allowed to do it at home. But meanwhile, like when growing up, when my mom was alive, we lived in different places, but it wasn't dirty, but it wasn't clean. And she was kind of hard on us about cleaning at a point when it got like too dirty, but she wasn't like that big of like, like hard on us about clean. But after a while, when it piled up, then she was like, you need to do it. But I realized that environment allowed me to be more creative. And so, like, I notice now is like, if I'm going to someone's space or something, I'd rather it be kind of a like junkie space, because then it feels more relaxed. Because growing up, I was like at that point of like a teenager or like a preteen into teenager, I was in that house with my cousin and we weren't allowed to do anything, and it made me like really not want to be there. So whenever I go into a home that it feels like it has that type of vibe, like you got to put your drink on the coaster or something like that, it just feels very uncomfortable. I don't know if it's ingrained in me, like if that's just like in my DNA, but I'm just very much not that type of person. I never wanted to be, never was interested, but some people, they're just that way. They're very clean people. And so like if I'm in, like I rather, like people invite me into spaces and I'll go, but I want to go because I don't feel like, I feel trapped, especially if it's a space that's like that. Like if it's a space that's like, say, you gotta keep, if it feels like the emphasis is on keeping it like really tidy and stuff, it's like, I'd rather, be outside and in the grass or something like that. It also reminded me of this one time I was in New Orleans, and it just like I was coming towards a cat, and I was like, sometimes you go towards cats and cats will come towards you, and you just never know. But most of the time they don't. They kind of scurry away. And I remember coming towards this cat, and I was like, "Oh, the cat!" And like try to get the cat's attention, and the cat ran down into the sewer. And I'm just thinking, like, it was dark, and it was already dark. It was like really early morning, but the cat, instead of like me coming towards the cat, which if he had known, which he had no idea of knowing, I was safe. Like I wasn't gonna like hurt it, but instead it went down into the sewer, which to me the sewer would be a much scarier place. But it was like, the cat rather go down there where it's dark and unknown as a safer option. And I was like, I resonate with that, because it's like I'd rather go someplace where it's like a little seedy, a little like, and it relax. Like I feel more relaxed. It depends. But when it's like too clean and stuff, I just don't feel very comfortable. So that's when I say like I like things that are a little bit dirty because it just feels a little bit more comfortable. If you know, that's just me. You know, you might not get it. You know, so anyway. And then it made me think, not too dirty, because it was like also this other place. This one time, this person invited me to their house, and the only reason I went to that house because I knew it was gonna be a little junkie, and I was like, yeah, I'll go to your house. Like I know it's gonna be like, but it was so junky, and they were like insisting on that I stayed, and I was like, nah, I'm okay. Like that. It was really comfortable. It was just so junky, but I was like, nah, I'd rather, I'll sleep on the street.